Shadow Mama and the Great Hide-and-Seek Tournament. Far from the city, under the shade of ancient oak trees, rose Willow Creek, Mama. This house was a friendly old structure with windows that resembled huge eyes, wooden stairs that talked, and an attic full of secrets. That day, the sky was covered with grey clouds, and a thin, delicate rain was falling outside. The raindrops hit the glass with a tap, 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 increasing the peace inside the house. 5 close friends had gathered in the grand salon of the house. Oliver, the most patient and observant of the group. He loved being it, the seeker. Maya, a master of hiding who could fit into the narrowest places with her tiny stature. Lucas, fast and agile. He generally liked climbing to high places. Sophie, an artistic soul. She would definitely find an interesting object to examine wherever she hid. Ben, the sleepiest of the group. He usually fell asleep wherever he hid. As logs crackled in the fireplace, Oliver blindfolded himself and turned his face to the wall, towards the great-grandfather clock. The tick-tock, tick-tock of the clock was like the heartbeat of the house. The rules are simple, said Oliver. The boundaries are from the attic to the winter garden. I will count to 100. But I will count slowly. Hide very well. And Oliver began to count. His voice echoed in the salon. 1, 2, 3. Meanwhile, footsteps behind him scattered left and right with a thud-thud. Everyone was looking for their perfect corner. While Oliver counted 20, 21, Sophie had already found the most suitable place for herself. This was the massive library in the east wing of the house. The library was filled from floor to ceiling with old, leather-bound books. It smelled of old paper, dried flowers, and a hint of vanilla. Sophie glided on her tiptoes behind the large, velvet-covered reading armchair. There, she sat on the soft Persian rug. It was quiet. Only the sound of rain hitting the glass could be heard. Sophie began to watch the shelves from her hiding spot. The gold-gilded letters on the spines of the books shimmered in the dim light. A spider was slowly weaving its web in the corner of a shelf. Sophie was so comfortable that the excitement of the game gave way to peace. She pulled her knees to her chest and rested her head on the soft back of the armchair. It felt as if this place was made not for hiding, but for daydreaming. Time flowed slower here. From afar, Oliver's voice came muffled. 55. 56. Lucas was looking for adventure. He quietly climbed the creaking stairs. First floor, second floor, and finally, he reached the small door of the attic. When he opened the door, slightly dusty but warm air hit his face. The attic was like the memory of the house. Old trunks, furniture covered with white sheets, clocks that stopped at unknown times. The grey light filtering through the small window in the roof illuminated the dust mites dancing in the air. Lucas decided to go behind a large wardrobe. But on his way there, he saw an old rocking horse and smiled. Then, he crouched behind a large wicker basket. Here, the sounds were very different. Because he was right under the roof, the rain sounded like drums. Pat pat pat. This rhythmic sound slowed Lucas's heartbeat. The rush from a moment ago was over. Lucas pulled the edge of an old quilt over himself. This place was like a warm bird's nest. He was safe. He didn't want to be found, but it was okay if he was. He was just enjoying this moment. From below, Oliver's voice rose, 7 to 9. 80. Maya had gone down to the lowest floor of the house, to the winter garden, accessed through a glass door next to the kitchen. This was the lungs of the house. Inside smelled of damp soil and fresh mint. There were huge ferns, rubber trees reaching up to the ceiling, and colorful orchids. Maya, using her small size to her advantage, went under the broad leaves of a giant monster plant. The leaves opened over her like a green umbrella. The smell of the soil calmed her. She felt as if she could hear the breathing of the plants around her. Raindrops falling on the glass ceiling trickled down the leaves and fell onto the soil. In her hiding place, Maya felt like a little fairy hiding in the forest. She closed her eyes. She inhaled the scent of jasmine wafting towards her. Oliver's counting was almost over, but Maya was in no rush. It was so peaceful here that she was about to forget the game was even a game. And Ben. Sleepy Ben. He had chosen the most strategic but dangerous place, the kitchen. When he entered the kitchen, the smell of freshly baked cinnamon cookies hit his nose. Mrs. Higgins, the cook, wasn't there, but the warmth was still inside. Ben opened the pantry door. Inside was full of flour sacks, jam jars, and dried legumes. Ben sat on the floor next to the flour sack at the very back. He leaned his back against the wall. It was dim here and smelled incredibly good. Ben thought, let me rest my eyes a little, I'll open them when Oliver comes. The silence of the pantry combined with the sound of the refrigerator motor coming from afar created a lullaby. Hum. Hum. Ben's head slowly dropped to his chest. Hide and seek was long over for him, the realm of dreams had begun. In the salon, Oliver took a deep breath. 99. And 100. Front, back, left, right, ready or not, here I come. He opened his eyes. The house was cloaked in silence. There was only the ticking of the clock and the sound of the rain. Oliver smiled. He loved this silence. His friends had become a part of the house. Oliver started walking with slow steps like a detective. The wooden floor creaked slightly under his feet. First, he headed to the library. When he opened the door, that old book smell welcomed him. Sophie, he whispered. No answer came. But Oliver saw the tip of a small sneaker sticking out from behind that big reading armchair. He approached smiling. Sophie was lost in dreams, watching outside the window. Oliver touched her shoulder gently. Tag, Sophie, he whispered. Sophie startled, then smiled. I was so lost in thought, Oliver. The rain is falling so beautifully. Come on, said Oliver. Let's find the others. Together, they quietly went out into the corridor. Now there were 2 of them. They climbed the stairs. With every step, the silence deepened. When they reached the attic, Oliver put his finger to his lips. Shush! A steady breathing sound was coming from behind the wicker basket. When Oliver and Sophie looked behind the basket, they found Lucas wrapped in a quilt, eyes half closed. Tag, Lucas, said Oliver softly. Lucas yawned. Ah, did you find me? I was listening to the seagulls on the roof. Lucas joined them too. 3 friends walked down the stairs with sleepy steps. Next was the winter garden. Humid and warm air welcomed them. Oliver searched among the large leaves. Finally, under the monster plant, they saw Maya looking as if she was inside a green cocoon. Maya giggled when she saw them. "It's so beautiful here, I didn't want to leave at all." "Tag, Maya," said Oliver, extending his hand. He helped Maya out from among the leaves. Only one person was left, Ben. The four friends looked at each other. Where could Ben be? Sophie said, "He definitely chose the most comfortable place." Lucas added, "Or the best smelling place." Together, they headed to the kitchen. When they entered the kitchen, they smelled that sweet jam and cinnamon scent. The pantry door was slightly ajar. Oliver pushed the door gently. Ben was in a deep sleep next to the flour sack, his mouth slightly open. A packet of pasta was resting on his head. Oliver turned to his friends. "Let's not wake him up," he whispered. "Let's just carry him." Lucas and Oliver took Ben by the arms. Ben mumbled but didn't wake up. They slowly carried him to the salon, onto that big fluffy sofa. Hide and seek was over. There was no winner, or perhaps everyone had won. Because everyone had found the most peaceful corner. Outside, it had gotten dark. The rain had lost its intensity and turned into a fine drizzle. Sophie brought hot chocolate for everyone from the kitchen. White steam was rising from the mugs. Maya distributed the blankets next to the fireplace. The five friends, Oliver, Maya, Lucas, Sophie, and Ben, who was still sleeping, settled on the rug and armchairs in front of the fireplace. Holding the warm mug in his hand, Oliver said, "This was the quietest hide-and-seek ever." Sophie added, "And the most beautiful." The fire in the fireplace danced with orange tongues. The crackling of the logs, the patter of the rain, and the tick-tock of the clock combined to form the lullaby of Willow Creek Manor. Oliver's eyelids began to grow heavy. The responsibility of being the seeker had lifted from his shoulders. Now it was just time to rest. Maya wrapped herself thoroughly in her blanket, only her nose remained outside. Lucas put his head on the pillow, and his eyes closed while watching the ceiling. Sophie left her empty mug on the coffee table and curled up at the foot of Ben's sofa. The house itself seemed to be preparing for sleep too. The creaking stairs went silent. The wind stopped pushing against the windows. Shadows lengthened and hid in the corners of the room. Oliver looked at his friends one last time. They were all safe, warm, and together. Everyone had been found in hide-and-seek. No one was lost. Everyone was home. "Tag," whispered Oliver to himself, his voice barely audible. "I tagged sleep." He laid his head on the pillow. And in the safe, warm, and peaceful darkness of Willow Creek Manor, he drifted towards that soft void where dreams begin. Good night, Oliver. Good night, friends. The game is over, now it's time to sleep. The end.